Hello, everybody, and welcome to a spooky edition of History Quest.
Take that off. Take it off. No one can understand you.
Hey, the devil at Lake Marion is like this story that everybody in McLeod County knows.
I've heard people mention the devil, but
right.
I've never heard the story.
Well, it was one of the first stories I ever heard when I first came to Hutchinson to work. Mm-hmm. Everybody, like I said, everybody knows the story. If you don't know this story, you're hearing it for the first time. So this is in the 1920s, right? Mm-hmm. And let me start by saying the night before Halloween was always known as Halloween.
Hallows Eve?
Heck Night.
Oh, heck, okay.
Yeah. No, Halloween is All Hallows Eve.
Oh.
Yeah. But the night before is Halloween Heck Night. And traditionally what that meant is that it was the time of year or the day where like today we toilet paper on Halloween and that stuff. Well, people used to do that the night before. They would scare people or just cause mischief. But anyway, it's the 1920s, right? It's the roaring 20s. Prohibition, all of that kind of stuff. So you can imagine the scene. You're at the ballroom on Lake Marion, which is right on the shores of Lake Marion. There's some rocks on shore where you can just see the waves hitting the rocks and hear the water. And
there's a really big park right by it too.
Right, it was like a pavilion style. It was just huge, and inside there was like a fresh popcorn making machine. So they say that when you would walk in, you could smell this popcorn. You can imagine the scene though, the roaring 20s. You can see the ladies in their 20s style dress.
Yeah, the Great War is over. People are living life to their fullest.
The roaring 20s, you can imagine the band playing the brass and everything, and the men, maybe some are wearing tuxedos or black suits.
They all would have worn tuxedos.
They drove up in Model Ts, and it's just what a great time, Well, anyway, so on October 30th, there is this dance at the Lake Marion Ballroom, right? And they say that these dances could get, I don't want to say out of hand, but,
Rowdy?
I don't even want to say rowdy. There were rumors of ladies of ill repute, coming to these dances, people breaking into the cottages to spend time together at night, that kind of thing. And then, of course, it's Prohibition in the Roaring 20s, and so you have bootlegging vendors there that have white lightning, because we're only like, one hop, skip, and a jump away from Stearns County, the capital of moonshining during Prohibition.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, but anyway, so it's, there's a lot of liquor flowing at these things and stuff, and not everybody likes that this stuff is happening, right? I think even today, if there were people doing drugs and, ladies of ill repute, around you, I'd be like, what's this? I'm raising a family, get out of here.
Yeah.
But at any rate, they said this would go on once in a while at these balls, or at these dances. Well, on October 30th, at this dance, they said the devil appeared. Now, the thing to remember, it was actually kind of a warmish night.
Okay.
Kind of muggy sort of night. There was a really severe thunderstorm that came through.
Oh, good.
Yeah, of course. There's got to be a thunderstorm, right?
It's got to be dark. It's got to be a warm night, and there's got to be a thunderstorm.
Oh, absolutely. And the night before Halloween. Halloween Heck Night. Halloween H-E-double hockey stick night. So anyway, now there's different versions of how this happened. The one thing that
different eyewitness accounts.
Basically, yeah. So that tells you something right there. But one thing that's constant though is that there was this huge flash of lightning that flickered the lights.
Okay.
And now some people say after that a broomstick up in the rafters started, dancing up there. And
it wasn't there previously? It just showed
apparently
up?
Apparently not. I don't know. But it's dancing. This broomstick is dancing in the rafters, and it comes down onto the stage, and like this broomstick is doing a jig by itself. And at some point during this, there's like a puff of smoke, and Satan himself appears in a red, the red suit, the horns, the cloven hoofs. They said, eyewitnesses say it was the devil, and he appears, and the lights kind of turn and like this weird glow to him, and that's a constant too with all the eyewitness accounts, is that the lights flickered and kind of turned a goofy color.
Yeah.
When the devil appeared. And anyway, apparently the devil jumped up. He was on the stage and was like, because the band was on a break. And so like the instruments flew off the stage and were flying around and splintering, and he's like dancing a clog dance on top of a piano, I guess. And people scatter. And anyway, so the devil, I guess, follows them out as they're running, and people are like running through the woods. They leave their cars there and just take off running, because anybody who's driven one of those Model T tuna cans know that you probably make better time if you just book it. But at any rate, I guess, and this is, to me, the creepy part is, as he's leaving, he left by walking across the lake on top of the water across the lake, and then nobody ever saw him again. Now there's two other versions of the story. It all starts with the lightning and the lights flickering and turning a weird glow. One of them said that the devil just popped up through the floor when this happened, and scared everybody, went boo, and walked across the lake to leave. And the other version is that the devil slid down this column of mirrors. He just appeared up on top of that, slid down this column, went, hey, and everybody scattered. And they said there was some work or construction going on at the ballroom at this time. And so they said that he walked by and there was scaffolding next to him. And as he walked by, the scaffolding, the scaffolding just kind of fell right down and shattered and everything as he walked by. Now there was, of course, theories as to what it is. Some people maintained that it was the devil himself. Some people think it was just a prankster, And then there is another theory, and this is the one I roll with, was that it was a minister.
Okay.
And now what's interesting with the minister aspect is there was once a minister in Hutchinson, and I'm not going to say where, because the church is still here, so I don't want to, offend or upset anybody that are part of the church. But at any rate, this minister wrote something in the Hutchinson Leader, and I read it, and he's adamant that this actually happened. And he's almost proud that this happened, because these people that would hang out, which he called a class of people, that's how he wrote it, a class of people that would go to these dances, don't go there anymore because they're too afraid. So the devil, he said the devil failed at his job because these people have vanished and don't come anymore, whereas the devil would want them to keep partying all the time, right? And so anyway, he kind of takes that angle with it, and there's like just this tone while you're reading it that he's proud of this. And they got what's coming to them. Exactly, yeah. That these people got what was coming to them, and that's kind of, and so if you want to go on that minister take, it's like there's the perfect guy that would maybe want to do it. And then here's another thing. A few weeks later, the devil appeared again, and this isn't widely as known. The devil appeared again at a card game at Norwood Young America. There was a poker game playing, which isn't, I don't believe that's terribly far out of McLeod County. No, it's right there. Yeah. That's where Ferguson Cemetery is. Yeah. So the devil appears at Norwood, and there was a poker game going on, and apparently the devil appears at this poker game and takes the best card player and holds him up by the scruff of his shirt and says, "Ha ha, I got you now." So, but seriously, it's like, okay, so you have, two different kind of things that maybe a minister in the 1920s. That's really hard to believe, this like Scandinavian pastor dressing up as the devil. He wasn't Scandinavian. He was I believe he was like a German-Irish. A European. Right, yeah. A European reverend dressing up as the devil and putting on this theater production. And he wasn't here long. And he, looking at his history, he kind of jumped around from place to place to place. And the church he was involved with was basically not an offshoot, but, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from evangelical, doom and gloom, hell and damnation.
Okay.
And so it just, I don't know, to me it fits. If you're looking for a reasonable explanation, it was a minister who didn't like this kind of stuff. But at any rate, this whole story about the devil in the devil at Lake Marion has survived for,
true.
nearly a century. And I mean, it's still told today, and it's still just captivating.
It's a creepy
and
story.
you still have to wonder. It's like, did the
devil come?
Yeah, did the devil come or not?
And the ballroom's not there anymore, right?
No, the ballroom's not there. In 1965, it burnt down.
Of course it burnt.
Yeah, it burnt. Maybe it was by the devil.
Maybe it was by the Reverend.
I think he was dead by then.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think he was.
He'd had enough of the ballroom.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Ancient Halloween celebrations. Well, it wasn't called Halloween, of course, but so the Celts, kind of pagan Celts, pagan ritual kind of deal here. They basically divided the year into two parts: the light part of the year and the dark part of the year. Now, the light part of the year, of course, is the summer solstice. Right around the time when the days are long. Planting season is going. The animal kingdom. All the birds and mammals are birthing at this time of year in the spring. You're planting your crops. You're watching your crops grow. The leaves on the trees start budding out, turning, green. Almost said brown. That wouldn't have made sense. But turning green. The grass is growing. All this kind of stuff. So this signifies life, right? This is the time of year that's light. It's life, and it's surrounded by good spirits. Right?
I agree. It's happy.
Right. You have to embrace the winter. How many times do I got to tell you that? We're in Minnesota. You have to embrace the winter. Okay,
Never.
sorry. Anyway, so they characterize the other half of the year, the dark half of the year, as the time of death. So in the dark half of the year, the days are getting shorter, the weather is getting colder, the leaves are shriveling up, turning brown, falling off the trees, the grass is going dormant or appears like it's dying.
Everything does.
Basically winter is coming. It's cold, and winter to ancient people had its own set of dangers associated with it. I mean, for one, it's cold. If your harvest fails, you don't have enough food to make it through the winter time. There's no plants. You can't forage. You can't do any of that. So winter time is categorized as a time where death is always near. And what's interesting is the pagans, and namely Celts here, they categorize, or I should say they observed October 31st as the time of, literally on their calendar, on the Celtic calendar, October 31st was the time of year that they observed as this transition going from the light time of year into the dark time of year. Okay. And so what they would do, and remember, this is also harvest. And for ancient humans, harvest is
life.
Your life, basically.
It's still that way.
Yeah, it still is. At any rate, so they're having their harvest. They want to have a good harvest. They don't want evil spirits, that are going to cause mischief to come and sabotage their harvest. So what they do is on this night, when you have this transition going over from light to dark, build these giant bonfires. And it's celebration, it's a holiday to them. They build these giant bonfires. They dress in costume, dance around the bonfires. And the idea is to ward off any evil spirits that might be lurking that would come and sabotage the harvest. As Christianity starts spreading, the church kind of starts adopting certain pagan holidays and kind of reimagining them into Christian holidays, because they're trying to convert pagans to Christianity, and it's much easier to do that if there's similarities between paganism and Christianity. So they just kind of mold certain pagan holidays into Christian holidays. Right, exactly. Christmas, for instance, was actually started as a pagan holiday. They say that the birth of Christ was actually in July. So 4th of July, fireworks, hey, we're celebrating Jesus' birthday. But at any rate, the church decided that they should move Jesus' birthday to the winter solstice, because during the winter solstice, the pagans celebrated life during this dark time of year. So what they would do is they would cut down a pine tree, and because a pine tree symbolized life because it was still green in winter, and they'd bring it inside, and they would actually burn this giant log that would burn
Yule
for
log.
exactly. It would burn for a number of days, and then once the log was finally done burning, the celebration was over. So that's how.
You got to pick a good log.
Right.
Then.
And so what happens is the pagans, they celebrate a day called Lemura. And Lemura is May 13th. And Lemura is actually like the spookiest of days for the pagans.
Okay.
On Lemura is the day that the dead are able to come, not like zombies coming out of the grave, but like the dead are able to, or their spirits are able to walk the earth. And so spirits can enact revenge on somebody that may have caused them a wrongful death or something like that. And so the pagans are kind of always on guard during this day of Lemura, to the point where they would even bring treats. I shouldn't say treats, but like food.
Offerings.
Yeah, offerings, and set them at the graves, so that way the spirits wouldn't trick them or cause any mischief. And you kind of see where that's going, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what the church did was they decided that they should take their day, All Saints Day, where they celebrated the holiest of saints and just, dead people, past relatives. They would celebrate their lives on All Saints Day, and they moved it to Lemuria. And so they celebrated, trying to change kind of how Lemuria was viewed. Well, eventually they moved that entire holiday to the same holiday that the pagans were celebrating before, which was actually called Samhain.
Okay.
Which, morphed into Halloween on October 31st. I should have mentioned that earlier, but at any rate,
It works.
they
So
combined this entire holiday, and the church, it was actually November 1st that was All Hallows Day, because it was a, day to celebrate saints and the good and everything. And the night before was All Hallows Eve. And from there, it's just kind of a skip and a jump to Halloween.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of stays in Europe. This
Okay.
this holiday kind of thing. When the Puritans,
What time period is this?
this is going all the way from like prehistory
Okay.
to Christianity, to actually all the way until the Puritans are coming to America. Now, when the Puritans come to America, they don't bring this holiday with them because there are pagan rituals involved in this Christian holiday. And so the Puritans are having none of this, absolutely none of this.
They were going
because-
to be the city on a hill.
Exactly. They were the shining example of God and,
Christian living.
yeah, absolutely. And no fun. They were the original NFL, the No Fun League. But anyway, okay, I get it. They don't do this holiday. They refuse to celebrate this holiday. But as more immigrants, especially from Northern Europe and Ireland, England, Scotland, in those British Isles area, as more of them start coming to America, they're bringing this holiday with them. But it's kind of molded to something different. It's the same holiday, but yet it's being celebrated on a smaller scale than it used to be. So rather than having these giant bonfires like they used to do, they would actually just carve a gourd or the
pumpkin.
jack-o'-lantern, jack-o'-lantern, and even like rutabaga, stuff like that, they would carve, and they would put
That's a funny image.
candles inside of them, and that would represent that bonfire that hundreds and hundreds of years ago they would have, and people dressed up to ward off evil spirits for the harvest, because that part of it had always stayed through. And then again, they would still give offerings to the dead on that night, so that no spirits would mess with them or anything. And it just over the years evolved into what it is now, where you have kids wearing masks and trick-or-treating, so scare your neighbors into giving you something, or you're going to cause mischief or something like that. And so that's kind of
That's cool.
how it starts. But going back to the ghosts and only seeing ghosts at night, it really, that story fits kind of right into it, because Halloween was the celebration of night. Not that it was so much a celebration, but you know what I mean?
Observation,
It was an
maybe.
observation of
A
the
reflection.
dark time of year, the scary time of year. So you look at us today, and we still carry those same genes that our ancient counterparts did. So we are just naturally afraid of the dark.
Do that.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
No, not at all. None.
Nope. Once you're dead, you're dead.
Once you're dead, you're dead.
Yep.
You either go upstairs or downstairs.
Yep. There is no middle.
You don't linger in between. And
No.
You go, ooh.
Why though? What's the point of staying here? Wouldn't you rather go up?
To scare you. Ooh.
Sounds like a sad existence.
Yeah, probably.
Which I guess is the point. You feel bad for these ghosts while they're haunting you.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who make a living chasing ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So now we're going to go back in the county, kind of. There's a place in between Plato and Norwood, Young America. I think it's like in Young America Township, but it's Ferguson Cemetery. It belongs to the Friedens United Church of Christ.
The Friedens?
Friedens. It's German for friends.
Ah, Friedens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like the church's second name is the County Line Church because it's just right there. There are people buried in the cemetery, people who go to the church still from McLeod County and from Carver County.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Crossing borders, making friends.
Crossing borders, crossing worlds.
But the church was founded in 1880 by our German immigrants, and it's an isolated cemetery in the middle of nowhere. It's like 3 miles outside of Plato and outside of Norwood, Young America. But there's a single tombstone in the southwest corner, kind of all by itself.
All by itself.
It really is. It's
Covered
just
with
like,
leaves even in the wintertime or in the summertime.
maybe.
Dead tree behind it.
Probably.
Like the arm that sticks
Well,
out.
I'll get to the tree later.
All right.
But there's a boy that haunts the cemetery, and at night, of course, it happens at night. You see him like peeking out from behind the tombstones, and people say that they've even heard a dog barking.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all, is it?
So maybe the boy's playing with the dogs, but there's also like orbs that people have seen in the cemetery.
Yeah.
But one story I heard, if you walk in the center of the cemetery and you count the trees around you, you walk to that grave in the southwest corner and then you walk back, there'll be a different number of trees.
That is just too something.
Like you have to wonder, like it's dark. Are you counting the trees?
Yeah, how do you count the
accurately?
trees when it's dark? I mean,
I don't know.
you ever wonder why ghosts never appear during the day? It's always at night.
Because you can't see them.
You
with the
can't
sun.
see them during the day?
Maybe they're allergic to the sun.
Like a vampire?
Maybe.
So these ghosts can't come out in direct sunlight,
Maybe.
but they come out at night.
Because you hear of like lights turning on, or like in hotels, like the water faucet being turned on, and that happens at all times of day. So I've told my ghost stories. You got one better?
It was late at night. I don't remember the time of year, but because, 'tis the season, we're going to say that it was in like October, okay?
It was dark.
Yeah, it was dark. It was the dark time of year. And anyway, so I'm coming home from my girlfriend, who's, now my wife.
Aw.
Oh. But anyway, so I'm coming home from her house late at night, and I come to our house, and I'm the only one home. Nobody else is home at our house. And you would walk, through like a foyer or porch kind
Entryway?
of thing. Yeah, it's an old house, built in like the 20s. So you'd come into this entryway, and then you'd come into kind of the main, living room, parlor kind of thing. I mean, this is a small house, but still. And on the wall, we had a wildlife print. It's called Early Snow.
Was it a Les Cuba?
No, it was not a Les Cuba.
wow.
But and this is not just a small picture. This picture's huge. It's
Okay.
like a big picture, right? And it's got a dog on it, and it's a black lab, and it's out by a slough, and there's snow all over the place, and then there's a couple of ducks laying by the dog, and it says Early Snow, and it's meant to depict, it's
early
hunting
snow.
season, and you got early snow, and if you're a hunter, it's like that just gives you goosebumps because those are the best times to be out there. But at any rate, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this ghost story. So I'm walking in, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that the dog started barking at me or something. Well,
Or
that
like
is
the
not.
eyes moved?
That is not the case. It was even creepier than that. So I'm going to use your piece of paper here
All right.
as like a visual aid, so the people out there in TV land
You
can
want to use
kinda
one?
see.
You want to use one of the masks?
No.
Add to the effect? Okay.
No. No. But anyway, so I walk by this picture, and this picture starts swinging, on the frame. The frame starts
Okay.
swinging on the wall. But
Like
it's not
someone pushed it?
No, that's because if someone pushed it, it would have just, whoosh,
Yeah.
like that. But it wasn't like that. I walked by, and the thing started real slow, moving like this, and it started going like really fast on the wall, like just back and forth really fast, and then just slowed back down until it finally hit its spot, right? And I'm like, still to this day maintain that there is no such darn things as ghosts, eh? But anyway, I like am looking at this picture, like just standing there, you know, transfixed, looking at this picture like, what the hey, man? And, you know, I just kind of was like, nope, that did not happen. And just, you know, went upstairs to my room. And I don't remember if I slept with the lights on that night or not. But that was creepy.
Hearing that story, it's a lot of fun for me to listen to, and it's really intriguing. Yeah. But if I was in your position, I would have like slept in the car or like gone to a different house.
It's the only weird. Well, you want to know one weird thing though about and this house? Like nothing weird. Well, other than this, nothing weird ever like really happened in the house. But
to your knowledge,
when we started remodeling the house when I was a little older, well, not much older, you know, because this happened when I was like 16. We started remodeling the house when I was like 18. But at any rate, we started remodeling the house, and there was old wallpaper. Like this living room had just been, you know, layer upon layer of wallpaper, because back in the day they didn't paint.
All the wallpaper.
They just put wallpaper over wallpaper over wallpaper. Well, you know, when I was just a little kid when we moved in, and I remember it, you know, we just put wallpaper over the wallpaper that was there. So it didn't look like 1970s style wallpaper, it looked like 1980s style wallpaper. Well, anyway, my dad decided it was going to be sheetrock, you know, this walls are all going to be sheetrock. And so we're pulling the wallpaper off, and we get to the last layer of wallpaper.
And there was blood on the wall.
No, nothing quite like that. Anyway, we pull away that last layer of wallpaper, because you didn't like it was so old you didn't have to like you know scrape it off. It was almost therapeutic, you know, just.
Yep, nice and easy.
But yeah, at any rate, we pulled off that last layer of wallpaper. The suspense is building, because I've said that like 5 times. So we pull off this last layer of wallpaper, and on the wall in crayon is the outline of faces. Like in this exact spot where this picture hung. And it was like whoever like originally lived in the house or something, they must have traced the outline of the kid's head.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
And it started from, you know, like a normal size, and then a smaller one, and then this really tiny one. But that's was weird. Just, you know, kind of just added to the whole creepiness of the situation. Weird. Because that was the first thing I thought of when I saw those. I was like, that's where that picture was swinging.
Yeah.
You know?
That's weird, because like if they were doing that, normal people like will measure just the height of the kid.
No, it was just the head, just an outline of the head. And I guess it wasn't blood, but it was red crayon, you know. And I don't think I ever like told my dad that story. So, you know, if you're watching at home, which you're not, because you don't have, you don't know what YouTube is yet. But if you ever figure it out, that's the story. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us on another episode of History Quest. I hope you have a happy Halloween. You know, watch out for devils and ghosts and ghouls and goblins, all those things.
A safe Halloween.
Yep, make sure, watch for kids. You know, trick-or-treating on that night. You may be interested to know that our annual meeting this year will be held on October 29th, and it will be at the Silver Lake Legion this year. We're making a few minor changes. This year there's no admission or anything. The annual meeting is absolutely free. It's a little bit later at night. It's going to start at 7, so we're not offering a meal, but we are offering like snacks and refreshments. There'll be coffee, cider. We're going to do probably like cookies, bars.
Ghost cookies?
Ghost cookies.
Pumpkin cookies? Pumpkin
cookies, maybe. You never know. But at any rate, all of these things are our gift to you. We thought we'd try it a little different this year, and you know, give away a free or have a free annual meeting instead of charging for one. But at any rate, like I said, it's at 7 o'clock at the Silver Lake Legion. So if you want to show up early and buy yourself a burger and fries, you know, or cold beer or something like that, definitely do it. And
have some more ghost stories, maybe.
Ooh.
Ghost stories.
So we'll see you all at the annual meeting. Otherwise, we'll see you again next month for a fun and exciting episode of History Quest.